Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of CX and Coffee. It is great to have you along with us every single week. My good friend
Marty Shaughnessy.
and I get together and we have a cup of coffee. We talk about something somewhat related to customer experience, and we reflect on the weekend's shenanigans. And Marty, I feel like, gosh, there's got to be a lot happening in your household. There's a new puppy. There's probably all sorts of holiday meal things
Yeah.
happening. Give us the skinny. Let's start with the pup. What's the dog's name?
The dog's name is Josie, and we've always had animals in the house. And then last year we lost two of our dogs and a couple cats, and so we were taking a break. We were like, let's just take a breath. And I was kind of like waiting for my wife Cindy to kind of like when she's ready, then we'll be ready as a family. So the puppy is a rescue. It's a mini Bernedoodle. So beautiful coloring, wiry hair, like kind of. I don't want to say my daughter said she was low key ugly, but she's she's unique looking. And yeah, now, so now it's like adjusting to okay, well, how does what is the our schedule changes obviously. So it's been fun. And she sleeps through the night, which is great. So I can't complain about that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Our kids, even this morning, my one son was pointing out one of the dogs, and he's like, "Dad, when we get a dog, we should get that kind of dog. They're on us." And I grew up with I love dogs,
Yeah.
and they've been
Part of
honest
the
about.
family.
Yeah, so we I'm not gonna mention that you got a puppy now, because when I came to your house the one time and we had a conversation about goats, there's a moment in time where my kids were wondering if we could get goats. So we're certainly not going to get a puppy involved in this conversation, but
Yes.
good. Well, I'm glad that Josie is acclimating to the Shaughnessy household.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe in future episodes I'll send we can put a pic on the screen there.
That will help with the ratings. I think that there's research out there that
Yes.
confirms showing puppies absolutely boost ratings. So that would be helpful, Marty, if you could do that.
Sure.
I
100%.
selfishly would appreciate it. And I'm sure all the people would love to see Josie as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you got it.
Now, one of the other things that I'm still trying to figure out, with all the holiday meal prep that's going on, what belongs on my table this year. And here we are, Thanksgiving. People will be watching this and will have just happened, so probably we'll still be digesting leftovers. And the last thing they want to hear about is what was on somebody else's table. But Marty, what's the plan? What's the plan this year? What do you got cooking up?
This year we're going down to my in-laws, my mother-in-law's house. The only responsibility I have is they're cooking a turkey regular in the oven, and then I'm smoking a turkey on the big green egg.
Let's talk about the art of smoking the turkey on the big green egg. First
Okay.
question is, do you brine?
Yes. Yes.
What's Marty's brine combination? What does that look like?
I've probably smoked 5 turkeys before, and they've all been from my father-in-law. So he brings them up already brined. So I think it's sugar and salt, and then a couple spices in there, but nothing too crazy. It's pretty standard, I think.
What kind of wood are we using there, Marty?
Usually it's a mix of apple and cherry. That's
Interesting.
usually for fowl. That's usually my standard there.
Yeah, no pecan.
No, not this year.
Huh, huh.
Is that your go-to?
No, I'm not. I'm not telling you what my go-to is. I'm just trying to get you to reveal all your secrets here. I have never smoked a turkey, Marty. I've
Really?
done lots of chickens. We're
Okay.
not big turkey people in our house. I think the one time a year that we do eat turkey would be Thanksgiving. And even this year, there is some debate on whether or not that will be the thing that's served. And I know we're very close to the day
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, if you're picking up a frozen one, you've already missed it, I think.
It'll all get sorted out. It'll all
Yeah.
get sorted out, Marty. It's just fine. If it's frozen, we'll deep fry it. That's what you're
There you
supposed
go.
to. Kids, do not. We're gonna have to have a disclaimer on this episode now because I mentioned that. Do not deep fry a frozen turkey. that's bad. I feel like that's just asking for a whole lot of food poisoning and a
True.
terrible holiday. Do you have any other traditions for the weekend beyond the food? Is there a family football game? Are you parade people? Are you decorating? What's the weekend like?
My wife would love if everybody got excited about the parade. I feel like that was a big thing when we were kids. It is not taken. Like she puts it on, the kids have zero interest. They've never had any interest in it, so it's on in the background. The biggest thing is the day after Thanksgiving is when okay now we can get out the Christmas decorations, and so it transforms our living room. We move stuff around. We put the tree in the same corner. I love it getting up early in the morning when it's fully decorated, and I'll just go out there with my coffee and just have the Christmas tree light on. So that I get excited about that. It's kind of like, okay, now we can dive into the next holiday.
I like it. I like it. We are
Yeah.
typically on that same pattern. It's late this year though,
Yeah.
and we're probably going to in the lead up to Thanksgiving. I believe the transformation may begin in this household, and we'll get there.
Yeah, we go to a local tree farm, so that's always been, and the kids are, well, my son is out of college now, and so you're just trying to figure out, who knows, in the next couple of years he might have his own traditions or his own schedule. So it's like we're just trying to do what we can with the family while we can and enjoy every moment.
Yeah, that's good. I was having coffee with a friend on Friday in person, and one of the things she shared was that her girls are about to go into college. They're about 2 years out from college, and they're realizing a lot of their holiday has been spent traveling and visiting other people, and it hasn't been about being at home. And they're now wanting it to make sure it's about home. So as the girls go to college and beyond, Christmas becomes about coming back home and not avoiding this massive road trip that everyone secretly loathes.
Yes.
So it's good. It's good that you've recognized that as well. And it's like, how do we have this thing that, enjoy it while it is, right? It be in the moment.
Enjoy it
Carpe
while you
diem.
can, for sure.
That's it.
Yep,
Very
absolutely.
good. All right. This is helpful. You've helped me now navigate what I'm going to be doing as I prepare for the holiday seasons, Marty. I don't know what I would do without you. So thank you.
Well,
Thank
I
you.
mean, going back to that turkey, don't you want the challenge, Justin? I feel like I could probably challenge you right now to smoke a turkey. This.
I'm not intimidated by the smoking the turkey. It actually doesn't feel like a challenge there, Marty. What would
Well, but and I understand because I would say turkey is probably like 2 to 5% of the meal. Like I the stuffing, the gravy, the
yes.
mashed potatoes. Actually, are you a mixer altogether kind of person, or are you separate? Do you
Yeah, I don't.
separate?
It all can go whatever. Sometimes some of the best experiences are when you start to discover what happens when you take this and you go vertical. It's like housing in New York City, right?
Vertical.
At some point, you can't spread out any further, and so if you want to maximize the experience, you've got to go up. You
Yeah.
can only do that by blending, Marty.
Okay. All right. That's funny.
Where do you did I have I just grossly offended you now?
No, 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 no. I mean, my stuff is my all my food is touching, and I would say I might even appreciate the leftover plate, like the either later that evening or the next day, where I'm not gonna lie, I've mixed it all together: mashed
Yeah.
potatoes, corn, stuffing, a little bit of turkey, cranberry, the jellied cranberry, the
Yes.
can. We do the
Yes.
can
Yes.
all together. I like it
Yes.
all mixed in.
I'm with you, and more than anything on the leftover piece. Look, one of the things I look forward to the most is I can't believe I'm confessing this on CX and Coffee. One of the things I look forward to the most is going and opening the fridge, and we have the big bag that's got all of the stuffing in it, and just pulling out some stuffing and just cold from a little bit of salt
Yep.
on it. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for joining us this week. We're just still clearly we filmed this before Thanksgiving. We're not over the the leftovers. We're gonna watch this back and be like, huh. No, it's still gonna be good. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna feel the same way as I do when this episode airs next week.
All right, Mister, what do we got? What's in the mug today?
Marty, this week's coffee comes to us from Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
I was there recently with Nate Brown. There was an event for CX Accelerator and got to spend some time with him. Bongo Java is one of the roasters there, and I actually came back with 2 bags from Bongo Java. The one we're going to explore today had me very intrigued because it is a bourbon barrel-aged coffee. What's important to know about this is it's not a flavored coffee. I don't know if you
Okay.
know the origin of flavored coffee, but from what I understand, I haven't debunked this at all. But
Okay.
back in the 80s, you had some really bad coffee crops, and rather than scrap it all, they put flavorings in them to sell really bad coffee. Ever since hearing that, factual or not, I tend to avoid flavored coffees. So I would not have picked this up had it been a flavor coffee, but this is roasted and then aged in white oak barrels.
So they take the roasted beans and then put them in the barrel, and for 30
Do-
days, 60 days.
yeah, it doesn't say how long. We'll have to find that out. But a few things I appreciate this. So the distillery is a small batch whiskey distillery from Tennessee. Is who they used on this. They do share that they roast it and then put it in the barrels. I had a laugh though under brewing instructions. They wanted to make sure I was very clear on what I was getting myself into because they say this. So much care has gone into making this coffee. We beg you, don't screw it up now.
Oh, jeez.
Life lessons. Ready?
Let's do it. Give it the old sniffer.
It's too much. This on the nose. I can't. I
Too
don't
much
think
liquor?
I can. What?
Is it too much liquor? Or you...
It feels very, not just very sweet, almost overpoweringly. I don't want to say perfumey, but it's like toffee. It just smells. It's like. Actually, I have kind of have a headache from. Maybe I inhaled that too deeply. That from smelling it, I am not excited. I'm going to be honest with you. It
Very
just
interesting.
it smells a lot.
I mean, I know a lot of people who don't even like coffee, but they love the smell of it.
I like the smell coming from the cup. I think
Okay.
the bag, it's just concentrated.
Yep.
It's a lot. It's a
Okay.
lot.
Let's see how the sip goes here.
We'll find out, Bongo Java. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Um,
Not your favorite?
it's got me stumped, Marty. It's it's almost okay, so it doesn't have the sugary sweetness to it.
Yep.
The best way I can describe this, if I took a Werther's,
Yeah.
dropped it into my coffee, and then removed the sweetness, like the sugariness,
Yep.
it tastes like that.
So like a bitter Werther's mixed with coffee.
Not a bitter Werther's. It's not It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's
Is it too flavored for you?
it's
Is that
perplexing. It's I want
complex?
it is complex. It's definitely
Marketing would
complex.
say complex.
Yeah, complex, perplexingly complex.
Okay.
Definitely like get some of the whiskiness on the back end of that. I don't know right now. I'm going to
Yeah.
be honest with you. It's not bad, but it is confusing me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. So here's what I'll say first. Bongo Java, I love all your coffee. The other bag that I have, I'm already looking forward to as well. But we'll space that one out a little bit. I am. We'll come back. We'll come back because I'll drink this coffee between now and our next filming. So let's be sure to come back to this one. I'm going to say right now the verdict is out. Here's what I'm going to say. If you like dark roast coffee, this is not for you. I would say it's not for you. If you tend to order, like if you're a blonde, if you like blonde and light roasts, it definitely is in that vein. I mean, even look like if I don't know how well this will show up, but these beans, no, that's not going to work at all, are very light. They're very lightly colored. So here's what I'll say for Bongo Java's Bourbon Barrel-Aged Coffee. Definitely not a dark roast. This is a light roast. It's giving me hints of toffee, a Werther's original. If you like Werther's, which I do like Werther's, I would say give it a try. But my take after a few sips is I think it's going to take more than one cup for me to decide that I would want to buy this again. But it's not an immediate no for me. Let's just see how it develops over time. But until then, Bongo Java out of Nashville, Tennessee, Bourbon Barrel-Aged Coffee. This one's for you.
All right. We'll come back to it.
We'll come back to it.
Come back to it.
Well, Marty, now I guess is the time in the show when we should really get into things. And I was spending some time on CX Accelerator this past week.
Okay.
And it was interesting. There was a thread about areas in which CX is lacking deeper research. I had a laugh. One person chimed in and said most of it, which gave me a little, chuckle like that. But I saw a post in there from a good friend named Gregg. And Gregg had called out a couple different things that he had observed. Peter spent some time at iRobot running a very large service and support team there.
Okay.
And one of the questions that he had asked was, when should business invest in people and processes versus investing in new technology? Thought it was a very timely question because a lot of organizations are struggling with that right now as they look at AI and automation. And I think it's a perpetual question for a lot of us, but where do we say, hey, we've really got to make sure that we've got the right people and processes in place, because that's going to be the thing that's going to enable our success moving forward, versus where the places where we can add or leverage technology. So I'm curious from you, and even the work that you're doing right now, probably the most timely topic around this is with artificial intelligence. Before we even get into how you're maybe using it today, what's been your initial take over the last 2 years, we'll call it, as there have been more and more mainstream conversations and focus on leveraging AI, particularly in your world in creative tasks?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, I'm kind of on the fence. There are things that, I would say, again, coming from the design side, there's certain tasks in Photoshop, used to, if I took a picture of you and I had to cut you up before, I had to go in there, meticulate, mask you out, and spend, 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe, if depending on the background. And now with the click of a button, it's like 3 seconds, and it does a pretty good job. So there are certain things that make it easier. Like everybody else, I've played around, like show me a picture of a kitten knitting with some yarn on a hot air balloon in front of the Eiffel Tower. It is what it is, and there's other pictures. I think when you're trying to do marketing with realistic and people have six fingers, or there's some really odd stuff out there. The other thing that I see, which I don't necessarily use, but in a lot of the meetings I'm with clients, they will run something through ChatGPT for a first pass. I don't think we're there where you're getting this perfect product out the end, but I do feel like people are using it to let me just, it's almost like brainstorming. And I do feel like the dangers are if we don't learn how to write or we don't learn how to communicate, and you start relying on, you're typing in your email and it's correcting every sentence, every little phrase, and wow, do you want to say this? Do you want to be more confident? Do you want to do, all those kind of things? I'm not sure if that's helping us as humans.
Some of the foundational skills that we all need to know and have places to practice and develop, we need to make sure that we're setting clear boundaries in how we're developing and enabling those things, but also not introducing them into places where really they are not helpful.
Yeah.
Right. So it is a tightrope walk between how do we make sure we've got the right people with the right level of knowledge and expertise and just resources available to them to succeed in their role. And in some ways, it feels like we're going to have to leapfrog some things. To your point about needing to make sure that people aren't bypassing basic communication skills, what it actually is introducing is how do we make sure that people don't just have the foundational skills, but actually have an even more advanced and developed understanding of how to take those skills and build and iterate on top of them. It's actually being able to understand how do you build upon that? How do you take it and make it even better? And I think that's actually interesting and presents an exciting opportunity for all of us to figure out how do we just evolve in the way that we think and operate, which is inevitable. I think the first thing for us all to acknowledge as we try to bridge the gap between what is a matter of a people and process investment versus what is potentially a technology investment, whether it is in customer interactions or design or marketing or anything beyond that. My first decision-making lens is probably three-sided. The first is how common is this type of task that I'm looking to do? And whether that's the removing a background, whether it's answering a question, or even formatting something for a particular delivery mechanism. If it's very common, then I've got clearly defined parameters. I've probably got well-defined processes. I've got information that is likely clearly organized, thoughtfully documented, right? All of those things exist for the common things. And then as we start to move to the less and less common, then we can challenge ourselves in terms of how do we up-level the type of information and documentation and process understanding that we've got. So that's the first lens for me, is how common is this situation. The second piece then I look is what's the predictable kind of nature? How predictable is that particular thing? So again, it could be very common, but if it happens all the time, but every time it happens, you never know what you're actually going to get in that situation, it makes it really hard to automate and scale. There might be infinite variables involved. And that's the second thing I think through. So it's like, okay, it's common and it's predictable. And we see this playing out today in a lot of places where automation and tools are stepping in for the delivery of all sorts of different tasks. They're the common and the predictable is where we see that first. The third lens that I then look through, particularly in the customer experience realm, is how volatile is this situation potentially. It can be very common and very predictable, but if it's high stakes or high emotion, there can be a lot of reasons to make the case why someone actually should or even shouldn't be involved in that circumstance. And it's a matter of, it's nuanced. It's not clear cut in terms of how you make that decision.
Yeah.
I think the next thing to consider is where does it actually have the potential to make a measurable difference on the business. What's difficult about investing in people and process is they are very expensive, and you want to talk about volatile. People are the most volatile resource on the planet, and all of the costs that go around, our human capital in our businesses, like that's probably one of, if not the most expensive item on any given, business's budget sheet. Technology is really easy to start putting in places if we're like the cost and the risk of humans. There's actually an unclear value that provides to our organizations. And I think that's right now one of the interesting places that we're in is emotionally we can justify having people involved. Rationally, it can be very difficult when we look at, hey, whether that was a person that told you the balance on your bank account or a machine, turns out the person wasn't providing any additional value in that circumstance, in the nature of that.
Yeah, in that example, the machine's not going to call out sick, right? It's always going to show up on time. Isn't going to ask for a raise. You've already paid. Isn't going to quit. That kind of thing. Yeah.
So the challenge is really being able to unearth the places where people can provide additional value, not just to the person that they're serving or creating a design for or building a campaign around, but also to the organization and broader stakeholders. And what's been interesting for me right now is I've been studying this idea and a set of metrics that, for the time being, I've defined them as value force multipliers. And what these really are is the places in our businesses where, whether through human intelligence or technology, we are able to identify not one problem or value driver, but actually a compounding set of value drivers. One of the examples that I give as demonstration of this, and it's a story I know you've heard me tell many times, Marty, is around flyaway drones. And how for one contact center, number one reason people were contacting these because their drones were flying away. And they all day, every day, were just trying to deal with the flyaway drone problem in terms of the people who were contacting them.
Yeah.
That was the issue that they were looking to solve. But what happened by actually addressing it in a meaningful way is it increased consumable sales. People, because they were flying their drones for longer, needed replacement parts and accessories. Word of mouth went up. And you see this bidirectional shift in the customers who were upset about their repeat drones and were costing time and energy and resource from the organization. Now we're going down as all of these positive things were going up, not to mention employees weren't having to deal with as many people who are upset about the flyaway drones.
Right.
That, to me, is this idea of a value force multiplier. And when I think about where and how should businesses invest in people and processes versus technology, to me, it's actually taking a step back and saying, before you decide where to invest, you have to ask, what are you trying to accomplish? And more importantly, what is the potential that you could accomplish? Right? Forget what you're trying to do. What could you do? And then and only then can you make the right decisions around, okay, what are the tools that enable this? What are the processes? And where do you have people in the right way at the right time doing the right things to really enable us to unleash the maximum good that we're capable of doing?
Yeah. That's good stuff.
Marty, when I think about this question, which I think is foundational for a lot of us right now on weighing out people versus technology and a combination of the two, I think there's a couple key questions that we need to ask ourselves before we even begin. First is that one I mentioned earlier in terms of what are we actually trying to accomplish? Then push ourselves one step further and not just say, what are we trying to accomplish? But if we thought without limits for a minute, what could we actually do? Rather than just try to eliminate problems, what could we do even greater? Then I think we start to look at, do we have the right people and processes in place? We have to start there. We have those resources today. We have people. We have existing processes. Are they set up for success? Then let's look at tools. And I think before we even look at new tools, are we making the most of the tools that we have? It is crazy to me, Marty, the number of times that I sit with organizations and look at their technology stack, and they're barely scratching the surface on what their existing tools are capable of. So making sure you've got the right kind of usage of your solutions in place. And then you can start to ask the question of what new or evolved or different things might we introduce to get us where we need to go. I think that to me is kind of key there. I think it's also important to recognize with any of this, a lot of your investments, people, process, and technology are long-term payoffs. You're not in a lot of situations going to see the overnight change unless you have some serious issues and this is just like absolutely transformational. For most of us, it's way more nuanced than that. And because it's way more nuanced than that, then it means it's going to take time for value to really show itself in its fullest form. And I think it's important to keep that at mind. I also think it's important to know that now that we're moving out of Thanksgiving and into the remainder of the year, it's not too late to put together your strategy for your sides. One thing I heard from you loud and clear, Marty, is it's not just about the main dish. We've got to have the right sides, and more importantly, ones that are accessible when at 11 p.m. or 3 a.m. we've got a hankering for something and we want to step into the fridge. So want to make sure that we've got that noted for all of us. And also one more shout out to Bongo Java and our Bourbon Barrel-Aged Coffee. As I've been sipping it throughout the episode, it is certainly settling in with me in a very good way. I think I'm going to enjoy this one. It is not going to be an everyday sipper, but it's a really neat treat, and link to it in the show notes. But until then, Marty, as always, it has been great chatting with all of you. Don't forget to comment in the notes. What would you love to hear us cover on a future episode? If you're not already subscribing, we're going to pop up a link right now to make it easy for you to do that. But come back next week, episode 5. We've got a whole new brew on deck, another customer experience topic that we're going to explore. And Marty, we didn't get to shearing alpaca, but you better believe that we're going to get to it one of these days. So be ready.
Be ready.
Until then, everyone, thanks for tuning in to CX and Coffee. I'm Justin Robbins, along with my friend
Marty Shaughnessy.
And we will catch you next time. Thanks for tuning in.